Okay, so class today, we're talking about the causes and the categories of unemployment. So in Module 12, we addressed what unemployment is, what constitutes unemployment, what constitutes other facets related to unemployment like the labor force, employment, underemployment, all those different concepts. Now we're going to take a closer look at specifically unemployment and see just what the different subcategories of that might be. That's going to be what we take out today. So let's get into that. The first thing to take note of is that there is a natural rate of unemployment. A natural rate of unemployment. So what that means is that this is an unemployment that never, ever goes away. Okay? It never goes away. And there are, and I'm going to do this really quickly, there's a way to think about this. It doesn't matter whether the economy is booming, right? Like it did in 2016, 17, 18, 19. So, it doesn't matter whether the economy is doing really well. The unemployment rate will never be at zero because of this natural rate of unemployment. So, we're going to take a closer look at that natural rate. How it fits into the big picture. So you have the actual rate, right? The actual rate of unemployment, and there are two parts to the natural rate, or to the actual rate of unemployment. What are those two parts? Well, it's that natural rate, natural, plus cyclical, okay? Natural plus cyclical. I told you we're talking about the natural rate today. The cyclical rate, that's going to be the one that fluctuates. It's going to be greater, cyclical rate will be greater when? During a recession. Cyclical rate will be less during an inflationary period. Okay, so it fluctuates. That could end up being zero. But because the natural rate is never zero, the actual can never be zero. Okay? Because we always have that natural rate there. So with that, we need to look at a couple of other things. The reason this natural rate never goes away is because there is always an unemployment rate. Okay? There is always a natural unemployment rate. Jobs are always being created, and they're always going away for a multitude of different reasons. Always being created, always going away. Okay, just here at Benedictine, we've created jobs that weren't there before, and then we've gotten rid of positions that weren't there before, either because we gave those responsibilities to other people in the building, spread them out, or we end up creating new jobs that weren't there before. So, the whole thing with this gymnasium, that's taken extra people in the building to help work on that and make sure that the capital campaign runs smoothly. That's taken extra people. And that's just here. It happens everywhere, right? So examples of this would include Benedictine itself. Jobs being created, jobs being destroyed. Another example of a job being destroyed, you guys would be too young to remember this, but you can put this here, Blockbuster Video. Okay? Blockbuster Video was video rental, right? You could literally go there and rent videos. Well, it took people to manage that store. Why did it go away? Is it because the economy was bad? No, it wasn't because the economy was bad. It was because renting videos from a store became obsolete. No longer needed. Okay, so there are no more Blockbuster videos. Let's talk about, there are two natural components. Let me put this back down. Natural components of the components of the natural unemployment rate. So the natural that we identified, it can be broken up into two subcategories. Okay, that natural rate of unemployment. So this here, this natural rate of unemployment can be broken down even further. How is it broken down? Into frictional unemployment. Frictional unemployment is one way it's broken down. The second way it's going to be broken down is structural unemployment. Structural unemployment. And we will discuss both of those concepts. Frictional and structural unemployment are the two ways that natural unemployment is broken down. That's all you need to know right now. We're going to go into defining each one here in a second. Let's talk about frictional unemployment first. Okay, so we're talking about frictional unemployment. This is unemployment that is due to time spent looking for a job. Okay, so if in an ideal world you wouldn't do this, but if you quit a job, right, and you spent time and you didn't have a job in your back pocket, you would be unemployed, right? But you're still looking for work, looking for a job, or maybe you move. Maybe, let's say, for sake of example, I'm married to somebody who's a neurosurgeon, right? And let's say my wife is a neurosurgeon, which she's not, okay? But if she was a neurosurgeon, let's say she got relocated right to Texas or something like that, well, if it came between my salary and her salary as a neurosurgeon, we would, weigh both and say, hey, it's better she holds on to her job, we move to Texas. Well, what happens to me? I'm unemployed, right? But I'm frictionally unemployed. That means I'm going to spend time looking for work again in Texas. It's not through any fault of my own. It's not because, I got fired. It's not because that my job was obsolete. It's not anything I did. But it's just by virtue of the fact that circumstances changed in my life to where I had to look for a new job. Let's say that fast forward 4 years from now, 5 years from now, 6 years from now, depending on what year you are going to graduate from college, or are you going to have a job right off the bat? Hopefully you do, but many times you don't. Many times in May, June, July, you spend time looking for a job. Is that because the economy was bad? No, it's because you graduated from college. So you should be getting the sense that, with people moving and people upping their qualifications and all sorts of other things, it could actually be a sign of a healthy economy, this frictional unemployment. In many cases it is. In fact, if you had to pick a type of unemployment to be a part of, it's best to be a part of this one. The best way to think about this, and the way I tell my students to distinguish between the other ones, is that frictional is really by choice. Frictional is by choice, and the other ones, cyclical, structural, all the other ones, they are not by choice. And we'll talk about structural in a minute. A couple other examples. College student, we talked about that one. A truck driver quits his job because he thinks he can get a better job driving for a competitor. Well, he's optimistic about his future prospects, so he's quitting his job. That is not the best situation because he doesn't have a job, but it's a not so bad situation for him. The next one is structural unemployment. So structural unemployment, I'll go ahead and put the rest of it up here. Good. Okay, so this essentially says that there are more people seeking jobs than there are jobs at a given wage rate. So there aren't enough jobs out there to meet the demand of people looking to fill those positions. As you can probably tell, this is not ideal, okay? This is you having to search for a job, not necessarily any fault of your own, but it's an unfortunate circumstance because there aren't enough jobs available and you're looking for it. It could be due to a change in demand for labor. We mentioned Blockbuster Video earlier. That people working those types of jobs, that position essentially of video retail cashier or whatever became obsolete. So it means that certain skills end up becoming obsolete, okay, as a result of just changes in technology. It could be any number of different things. Geographic distribution changes. Table that one for the time being. Let's move on to C. It could be caused by fundamental shifts, right? A fundamental shift in the economy. That for whatever reason, that job just isn't as hot right now, right? A great example could be manufacturing or like factory worker jobs versus IT jobs. Which one's going to be hotter? IT, because everything's getting automated. Computers are running factories now. It isn't factory workers because factory owners are finding it cheaper to automate their production. And then D, there is a serious mismatch, right? There's a serious mismatch between the number of jobs available and the number of workers, as we alluded to in the above options. So there's a serious mismatch there. This isn't ideal. If you had to choose between being structurally unemployed or frictionally unemployed, you should pick frictional. So the question becomes, why don't wages fall to eliminate structural unemployment? There's several reasons behind this. One is because of minimum wage. Why would that be the case? So again, let's take those Blockbuster jobs for example. Okay, could you work in video retail? Maybe, okay? Or work as a factory worker? Maybe. But you might have to accept less pay than would be legally allowable, okay? Because there just isn't a need for people to fill that position. So because of that, the companies might not be willing to pay $7 an hour. They might be more willing to pay $4. Well, it's not legally allowable, so that job is not an option. Another one is labor unions. Okay, labor unions, and labor unions. They're negotiating these higher wages, or they go on strike, right? And labor unions often, as we talked about in that book, labor unions often have kind of a positive view of protecting the workers and whatnot, but very often their actions of raising wages can lead to less workers being hired in that field, and that's not always the part we end up seeing. Efficiency wages. What are efficiency wages? Efficiency wages, would be wages on top of whatever your salary is. So if, for example, you're in sales and you sell a certain number of products, you end up adding to whatever your base salary is based off of those efficiency wages because you're bringing in the company money. Okay. So this is just to review a little bit. Okay. Normal unemployment rate, around which the actual unemployment rate fluctuates. Okay. So it's always going to be there. And as we said, natural unemployment rate is going to equal what? It's going to be frictional plus the structural. It's always going to be there. Even during the best of times, a certain amount of unemployment in the economy can be healthy. It's healthy for people to move from state to state. You know, that can be a good thing. Prospects could be better someplace else. It's healthy for people to better their qualifications, better their college degree, get a doctorate, get a master's degree. Those are all good things. And the necessary thing after you better those qualifications is to get another job. Spending time between jobs could be frictional unemployment. You're not working, but you're waiting for that next job to pick up. All of those are healthy signs within an economy that things are good. So unemployment in the economy is healthy due to frictional and structural unemployment. So healthy in the blank space. And I think that's it. Oh, one more slide. Sorry about that. So the last thing to talk about is cyclical. We didn't get a chance really to talk about that. Cyclical unemployment is share of unemployment attributable to the business cycle. Okay, so cyclical unemployment is completely dependent on the business cycle. And what does cyclical unemployment look like? Well, it's going to be actual unemployment, or it's going to be a component of that actual unemployment. So we would put actual unemployment here, natural, which we finished breaking that down into frictional and structural, and then cyclical right there. Cyclical just means economy is going up and down. People are getting laid off and hired depending on what the economy is doing. And that's it. Okay, so next time we're going to be getting a bit into inflation. A lot of numbers here. Okay, so we've got to pay close attention, especially getting in from modules 14, 15, and 16. Our test we will end up having after module 15.